Hi, how's it going? I'm Marlene. Thanks for wandering by. So, this morning, well, it's morning where I'm at. I want to do a check-in. So, some of you may know, sorry about my glasses, it's always an issue. So, some of you may know that at the beginning of this year, I made a list of 25 and 25. The 25 tarot decks that I want to make sure that I get to this year. For whatever reason, they're decks that I haven't used in a while, decks that I haven't used nearly at all. Other things, specific reasons, maybe they're Thoth inspired decks that I haven't really spent time with since I learned Thoth, or maybe they're um decks that kind of relate to the deck and walk. They might be decks that like I have just not given a chance. There are decks that might have been on the chopping block in my like, rehome, declutter, whatever words you want to use to like, to moving on, giving away, blah, blah, blah. Um, so these are, they're 25, and I guess I'll try to remember to link the video where I talk about all 25. And I didn't really show the decks in that video because I just was like trying to like go through them, without making the video way too long. But in any case, I'll try to remember to leave that link down below. But I want to take a look because now we're past the first quarter of the year. And I mean these are the decks that I've out of the 25, the decks that I have already worked with at some point between the beginning of this year and today. So kind of bleeds into the second quarter, but whatever. I'm not like, this is just for me. And I'm just sharing it with you. So it's not like it's like hard and fast rules or anything. This is just something that like I did because I felt like I wanted to kind of slow down on new decks that are coming in, even though I have bought new decks, and just work with things that I haven't worked with, or, intentionally. I just wanted to be intentional about things that I was doing. Anyway, so let me count. I have one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, 8 out of 25 that I've already started working with. And so I guess what I want to do today is like check in on those, talk to you about those decks, show you some cards. Not, I mean, it's not the as good, facing forward as it is to do overhead, but we'll do it anyway, just because I want to like talk into the camera this way today. Um, and yeah, I mean, this could be a long one. I don't know. I've got my coffee and I'm just going to like kind of answer questions like how did I feel about this deck when I used it? Is it something that I think I don't even know if I'm going to be talking about like keeping or letting go, or if it's something like I want to, um, I don't know, revisit, or how I use them, like just I guess how much I used it, what I did, what it turned out to be, like just what happened when I used these decks. So, okay, so yeah, cheers, coffee cheers, morning cheers, and we're gonna just start talking about the decks. And these are in no particular order. They're not in the order in which I've been using them. They're in this order. So like this is the list and these are the ones I checked off. So we're just going to go down the list. And the first one, because I'm not going to remember when I used these either. I'll have to like check into my pictures on my phone and see if I still have them, of when I like took pictures of my readings or whatever. Anyway, and some of these you've probably already seen in my like monthly wrap-ups, but anyway, let's just get into it. So the first one is the Dang Olsen Dream Tarot. This is an indie deck, and I missed the first round of that it was printed and sent out, or was it a Kickstarter? I don't know. I know that I missed out, and I was seeing it everywhere, and I was like, this is such a weird and funky little deck, and I just wanted to get it. And then so I had to wait. And when I, sorry, I'm getting cards stuck in the box. And when I finally did, it sat on the shelf for a hot minute because I wasn't ready. I wasn't sure when I wanted to use it. Little white book, which is actually pretty cool. Um, I'm trying to remember now because I'm looking back here for in the spreads to see if I did I use any? There's only one little spread here. Yeah. I don't think I did. I don't think I used I often really do try to like to use the spreads in the books if they give me I get in moods where I'm like, "Oh, I want to try out the spread from the book." Okay. So this deck surprisingly, so here are the backs. It's such a cool little psychedelic, like, it's a Waite Smith kind of clone, but it's really like just, far out there. Far out. um, it's a deck that I thought was going to be like a just for me deck. I mean, I mostly read for myself, but I do really like to read for other people. And I get like a hankering. I get like a wild hair. Like I get like this urge to want to read for other people sometimes. Um, and this deck, I guess that's what happened. Like it turned out that this was a deck that really enjoyed reading for other people. And I did. I think I might have done, I mean, I used it to read for myself, but I think I might have done more readings for my a friend of mine and for my partner and for some other, friends. I used this for them. And I paired it with it pairs really well with Oracle, but I paired it with the Sacred Symbols Oracle. I'm not gonna go grab that now. If I have a picture, I'll put it up. But yeah, it's there's I guess I used it, I mean, not like super a lot. Because I guess I thought I was going to be using like once I started using this deck, that it was going to be one of those that I just didn't want to put away. Oh, look at this Ace of Swords. Oh, that is that is so interesting. So cool that the figure is there. This moon. I love all the melty, like multiple, like people, like the figures are just so, human, non-human, kind of strange, gooey, like, I like this. Like, look at this lovers. I love the lovers. I always look at the lovers cards, but like, oh my gosh, that's so interesting. But like, this, as you've been seeing, this deck does this a lot where it's got like um let me find a good example where it's got like shifting heads in several different places or like something funky happening, to the figure. But yeah, split figures is something that I see a lot. Yes, these split heads sort of thing. And lots of melty, watery, gooey, like essence kind of stuff. I love that I think it's the page. Yeah, the pages are called Goof, so they've renamed them. Um, yeah, it's just a really cool, funky deck. And I mean, I know it's gonna stay in my collection, but it surprised me that it was a deck that ended up being something that I wanted to use more to read for other people than for myself. Like it was just, yeah, strangely, that's what ended up. Look at the magician. Yeah, I wasn't expecting that. So that was unexpected. But I mean, I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad that this was on my list. I don't know that I'm going to pick it up again sometime this year unless I'm in like the mood really, unless I'm in the mood really to read for somebody else. But yeah, so that's the Dang Olsen Dream Tarot. Okay, so the next deck on the list of the 25 and 25 that I have started working with this year, and actually this one I haven't talked about yet because I've been working with it this month, and oh, it's in a Peggy bag. I think it's a good match for the Peggy bag. But it's the Voyager Tarot. So this deck I've had, oh my gosh, how long have I had this deck? I've had it for a while and I haven't really used it. And honestly, I still am kind of on the fence about this deck. I started using it this month and this one's going to be hard to show because it's so glossy. But like, look at that color green match. That's kind of cool, right? That matches. That worked. But in any case, this deck, so I am using it this month because I picked from my TBR, my my little jar of prompts that I've been using to help me pick my decks every month, just for funsies. Um, Gave me a prompt that said a deck you can get lost in. And I picked the Voyager Tarot for two reasons. One, because it was on my 25 and 25, and two, because let me see if I get close and go like this, it's not so bad. It's such an intricately detailed collage deck. I know this deck is well known for being like one of the forerunners of these like collage style decks. I want to say that this deck was first published in the 80s. You guys know if you've been. So, no, 1998. No, second edition is 1998. When is the first edition? Hmm. I don't know. Okay, well, anyway, it's an older deck, suffice it to say. And I I like collage style decks. It's so hard to see it. Oh yeah, maybe if I get just really close and like look at and pan up. So 7 of Cups. This deck, I mean, it does several different weird things. And I don't have, by the way, the big guidebook that goes with it. I only have like the little guidebook that came with the deck. So I don't have that. And I know that some folks really, really love that. Like I think like Jess from Jess Reads Cards. No, Empress and Basil. That's her new channel name, or same channel, different name. Anyway, Jess, I think, is a big fan or is a big fan of this deck and has the big guidebook. I might be misremembering what she said, but in any case, I think I've read definitely in more than one place or heard in more than one place that folks like that big guidebook and it really opens up like the symbology and things in the cards. So this deck does a weird thing where it renames some of the suits, but not others. So there was like cups, but there's also worlds. And then there's um wands, but then there's also crystals. So like wands are wands, cups are cups, worlds are pentacles, and crystals are the swords. So I've been using it and I feel like I've used it in several different ways. Like I've used it side by side with an oracle deck, so one in one. And if I have a picture, I'm pretty sure I have a picture. I'll post that of just and I was using the Sacred Earth Oracle. And so one in one, like I think that actually has been the nicest like way to use the deck. But I'm still like, I don't know. I feel like I'm still just struggling to like figure out what's going on intuitively when I lay a card down, you know? Like I'm looking at the 10 of crystals here, right? So that's the 10 of swords. And I lay this card down and I'm like, I'm looking at the imagery. I'm like, there's so many there, even in this like fairly sparse image, this one compared to some of the others, there's a lot still to look at, so we have this beacon, this like star in the distance, we have this desert landscape, we have this giant crystal in the front, and then this like red crystal formation, and we have, I don't know, like I'm trying to uh, uh, and then oh, probably the thing that works for me the most is the keyword, right? So delusion, which is a really interesting keyword for the 10 of swords, delusion, right? And I feel like, I don't know, like I feel like I think that this is somewhere that's like left of or right of, or it's just like kind of gone off into a different kind of place in terms of the way that I read tarot. So, like, even if I employ like my RWS or my Thoth, or even now, I'm kind of accidentally learning studying Marseille. um, but in any case, like, or numerology or astrology, like it's kind of like just way off in the, like somewhere else, somewhere kind of related, adjacent to, but somewhere kind of different. It's just not like, it's not that it's falling flat, like where I'm just like, I got nothing. It's like, okay, something's happening here. Something's happening to me here, but I don't know what it is. And I don't know if I mean, if I don't know if this makes sense to you. I don't know if I'm like trying to like get it to meet with what my tarot knowledge is, or and that's not working, or if I'm just like not completely letting go and letting what comes through come through. I don't know. It's beautiful, like, and I like to look at it, but I just feel like I am getting like literally lost. Like a deck you can get lost in. Like I feel like I set myself up to just like completely get very lost. I did do another reading with this deck with for the decans. So I think it was Aries 3. I'll put up the picture. I'll put up the picture of my spread for my spread book real quick, and then I'll put up the picture of the actual reading that I did using this deck. So I used this deck and I used the Sacred Earth Oracle, which I feel like is just the place where like it makes sense next to Oracle, and it's just like a beautiful image, but I still feel like I'm just kind of lost in what it's doing for me. Like it's taking just more work for me. It's not quick, it's not intuitive, it's like I don't know. And this guidebook, the stuff that I read in here, this wasn't doing it for me either. First of all, this is the teeny tiniest print, and I already wear reading glasses, so I'm just like, what is happening? And I need like a magnifying glass to further get into it. So I don't know, like I feel like I'm trying, but I don't want to try so hard. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't want to try so hard to make it work, but I've been in this place where I haven't wanted to like let go of I mean, have I rehomed anything recently? No. I have rehomed things before in the past, and I feel like when I have done that, it's usually been something that like I've rehomed pretty quickly because I knew pretty quickly that it wasn't going to work out for me. But so the Voyager Tarot, I mean, I'm still working with it. Like this is still going to be something that I'm working with the next like week or two, I think, or so. But I'm just not sure that we're gonna hang out together forever, like, or I don't know if this is something that I could see somebody else, doing better with, but I just feel like, or it's not the right time in my life, for this to work out for me. But and so I might circle back. That's one of the reasons why I've kept things that are questionable to me, because I feel like the purging, I've never done like a big grand purge of my decks, because I don't know, I feel like there's gonna come a time when that's gonna be the thing for me. And it's because it's happened to me on several different occasions. Now that I've been doing this, I guess for long enough that that's the case. All right, well, the next one I feel like might be easier for me to talk about. And um maybe I'll talk less about it because it's something that is easier, and I kind of figured out my like how this deck works and feels for me in the time that we spent together. So the next deck on my list of 25 and 25 is the Jupiter Power Tarot, which I definitely have already talked about in one of my monthly wrap-ups, my month gone by video. It's an indie deck by Six Sad Girls, sixsadgirls.com. They have the Mars power and the moon power. I actually would like to collect them all. I really would like to have a whole set of these. They're such a mood. Like these are so different than most of like I mean it's just really the artwork is something so different. And I feel like it's really just all feeling. This deck also has like ties to flowers and herbs, or maybe just flowers. So like in the guidebook, you have poetry that just like pops out of nowhere. And then each of the cards is a specific I guess it's flowers. So cherry blossom, lotus flower. So it's Jupiter power because Jupiter is a lot to do with like growth and expansion. So it makes sense. It's just funny to me that like earth flowers are what we're using for Jupiter power. It's so strange. Like, but at the same time, it feels really alien the way that it's drawn, you know? So the deck feels really alien, but yet it's like rooted in these earth flowers. It's like really, it's like ideas that feel like they shouldn't go together, but they kind of work in this like weird, strange, bizarre way. I confess I have used the guidebook, but not like super duper over much, right? Um, and it really doesn't end up being about like the flower connection for me because it really ends up just being about the way that this like crazy image makes me feel. So like interestingly enough, that's like a, you know, really different of an experience than what I had with the Voyager Tarot. Oh, so let me show you the backs of this one. And then it has like, you know, the silver gilding. I wish I'd gotten the one with the green, but whatever. Um, it's a different experience than like what I was saying I was having with the oh, this is probably better if I don't put it too close. With the Voyager Tarot, in that this is like not definitely not traditional tarot imagery. Even if you're looking at like pip decks, RWS, Thoth, Marseille, this is like its own thing for sure. Like look at these lovers. Um and the Emperor. Like what? Is that a lotus flower? Yeah. But so it's so my intuition though, for whatever reason, this makes more sense to me than like the collage. It's I don't know why. Like I wish I could explain it to you. Maybe I'll try. I feel like the way that the face or human figure is interacting with the plant or flower, there's like suggestions to me of like feeling, and it feels really personal. I don't know what else to say. Like so like here's the 7 of Wands, and we have this like face out of nowhere, right? So it's like really like surrealistic. Sorry, I had to put down the rest of the deck. It's really surrealistic. You've got the flower growing out of the eyelid, but the eyelid has wings, and there's all this like I don't know, it's so like I can start. So what I can do with a deck like this is start from my 7 of Wands knowledge, right? From all of the places where I get my tarot kind of foundation. And then I move out from there with this like weird symbology, and it feels like this deck is like asking me to put myself in the place of this figure, face, flower. And then I figure out like where I am. So unlike the dang Olsen, which I said was like a deck that really ended up feeling like it wanted me to read with it for others. This is a deck that I really felt very like it was very much just about me looking at me. And I needed to, it makes me look at me. Um, you know, like it's like forcing me to think about my growth, where I am, like my mental health, emotional health, physical well-being, spiritual path, relationships. Like look at this, like can you imagine putting yourself in this weird dream like landscape of this Queen of Wands? Like look at this Queen of Wands. But anyway, I mean, like overall, the Jupiter Power Tarot, it like helped me with stuff that was like just very much like my own like well-being in all different kinds of areas, but it was really just about me taking like a closer look at me. Okay, so this one I haven't talked about, and I think I was no, did I put it in my deck and resources video? I hope I did, because this is a deck that has the decans on it, right? So it's and I think this is out of print now, but it's well, let me tell you what it is. It's the Liberty Tarot of Stars Eternal. I think it's out of print, which like is wild to me, but it's still available on the app, the Fool's Dog app. So if you're like really, really dying for this deck, or if you're like, because if you're in your deck and walk and you're like, oh my God, I want, something like this, um, then you can get it on the app, and then maybe find it, a secondhand somewhere. Because it's like I think it like literally just went out of print. Anyway, this is such a unique deck, and I know I'm gonna use it more. I'm gonna use it again this year. I hope. Um, but it's okay. How do I describe? Well, so Liberty is the Tarot of Stars Eternal. Let me just from the little guidebook. Um, it's it has depictions. I'm like, should I read from the guidebook? No. It has depictions from the decans that are coming from not necessarily, I don't know which text these images are derived from. I think it may be some of them coming from the pic. It doesn't say, is what I'm telling you in the guidebook. It doesn't say, at least I'm not seeing where it says it, where the Deccan depictions are coming from. But I know of Deccan depictions that are in the Picatrix. I know of the ones in 777 by Aleister Crowley, like, so I know of those places where the Deccan depictions come in. But so like for example, let me just show you, what I mean by that, for those of you that are like, what is she talking about? Oh, and the back of the deck does a thing that I don't like. It has the Justice card on it. So it's very thothy in most places. In like, so for example, in the majors, right? It's very Thoth-like. So it looks a lot like the Thoth depiction. It has the astrological sign that goes along with, so for example, this is the Hierophant. So the Hierophant is Taurus, and then it also has the Hebrew letter for the Hierophant as well, which I don't remember off the top of my head because I'm still working on those. So that's how the majors look, but the minors have, so they have like, so this is the Two of Cups, which is Venus in Cancer. For your astrology, Venus in Cancer, that's the decan. This is actually the first decan of Cancer, and it has like, this looks like your Thoth. Some of this looks like your Thoth card, right? The cups and the dolphins. But this image is from something else. Like it could be from the Picatrix, it could be from the 777, or it could be from other magical grimoire. I don't know, other like texts that I'm not necessarily familiar with. And it's really cool. It's really cool. Haven't yet. I think I started to kind of take a look to see if they match with the Telos Tarot 777, or with the Picatrix Deccan, that I have. So I have, okay, so in terms of how much have I used this deck, not much. In fact, I think I've only done one or two readings, and one that I remember very like vividly, and that I did purposefully. So in the guidebook it has this reading. So it has the picture, and then on another page it has how to do this reading. And explains it, and it was, yeah, so it was really kind of a lot. Because then you have to like pull from, like, there's there's spread positions where you're only pulling from the majors, you're only pulling from the aces, and then the rest are going to be from the minors, the decking cards. uh, and I don't know, like, if I use it again, if this is a deck that is going to be like more study material, or more of a reader, because I think I am okay with decks that like kind of end up holding this place of like as a study, and they may travel back and forth between those like uses as like a deck that's I'm studying versus a deck that I'm like reading with. And I don't know if any of you guys do that, where it's a deck that like this is a study, this is not like a reader. Let's see, like, look at how cool that is. So this is the six of swords, so it's science, Mercury in Aquarius. So look at, like, yeah, I mean, this part in the middle is the like very much like Thoth, and then the rest is like this other kind of imagery. And I'll tell you what, the guidebook doesn't really give you a lot. So like, I don't know if there's another like book that goes along with this that I don't know of. So like, let me read you the Six of Swords. Okay, so Six of Air, wish for knowledge. So here's what it says in the little white book: wish for knowledge, accomplished learning, journeys of the mind, or existential travels. But like, look at that figure of like, you know, that kind of like goddess figure that's like enveloping the whole card. And then you have this like old man holding up. Is that like, looks like, I don't know if it's, there's symbols in there that I can see. Is that like the zodiac signs? I mean, it's giving like, like old Greek philosopher vibes, ancient Greek philosopher vibes. And then on this, there's this giant book, and then there's this cube and these different other like, you know, uh, like spheres and things, they're different shapes, 3D shapes down there. So it's got to be significant, right? Like those shapes and things, but like, what are they? Like, what is that? I want to know. Like, if I grab, oh, is it right here? I look at two different other places, right? So if I look at the Picatrix Decans and I read what it says for what is this? So this is the second face of Aquarius. So the second face of Aquarius is a self-indulgent king who hates what he sees. A self-indulgent king who hates what he sees. So is that like old dude, the king? So I don't know if it's like Picatrix stuff, or if I read from, this is the guidebook for the Telos Tarot. If I read from 777, which is what Mel Meline has it based on. So where are the minors? So if I go to Aquarius 2, Six of Swords, right? All right. So let me hold this up and read what that one is. A man arrayed like a king, looking with pride and conceit on all around him. So that sounds more like, the Picatrix. But is that what this is? Like, and where is this like goddess, like almost like some Nuit kind of version of a goddess up there? I don't know. But that, I mean, it's cool. Like, I guess the thing, I'm just really interested in this deck as like exploratory. It's got me wanting to learn more, explore some more things. Like, look at these weird. but very cool other images that are going on in here. But yeah, the Liberty Tarot of Stars Eternal, it's right now functioning as like this like exploration, like kind of learning tool, kind of like what's going on there. Because and if I use it for a reading, I might be just like a daily. Okay, so the next deck is this, the Shewolf Tarot. I got this deck a while ago. I got it secondhand. It's like super beat up. This box has been like through it. I feel like it's even like the cut, like it's was out and outside, or like it got like sun damage or something. It's like it feels like this was not not this washed out color. It was like it lost some of its vibrancy. Anyway, She Wolf Tarot. I have the other deck by this creator as well. What's that one called? Serpent Fire. So all right, the She Wolf Tarot. Here's the thing. I mean, maybe this is what I said about it before. This is going to be glossy, so it's going to be harder to see. But so She Wolf Tarot, She Wolf Tarot. I'm glad I have it. I don't know if it's my favorite. I mean, I definitely know it's not a favorite, but it's a good deck. The problem that I think that I had when I was reading with this deck, and it actually is a deck that I read with a lot. Like I was doing dailies, I was doing bigger readings. I was like, I put this deck through lots of paces. And I really did like reading the guidebook, reading because it's heavy on the astrology. It doesn't have the astrological symbols on the card necessarily to like depict the decans like this guy did, right? But in the book, it does talk about the astrology. So, like, for example, here is the 10 of Pentacles. 10 of Pentacles, which is interesting because it's called Pentacles in this deck, but this is a Thoth inspired. So I don't know. Sometimes it feels Thoth, sometimes it feels like not at all Thoth. And sometimes I mean, it just feels like it's its own kind of deal. So if I go to the Pentacles, 10 of Pentacles, blah, blah, blah. So 10 of Pentacles is Mercury in Virgo. I was going to say I knew it was a Virgo card. I just didn't remember which. So Mercury in Virgo, the guidebook tells us so. So I think this deck is really about the astrology, which is thoughtful, but not, I think, like necessarily, like I don't know, because I don't know that it really, I mean, maybe it does take in the Kabbalah, you know, and the tree of life and things like that as well. Oh yeah, because this one already says so, like the 10 of Pentacles. um so the keywords here: completion and beginning cycle joy, which that feels very connected to it being a 10, right? The Thoth card is wealth, right? So the Thoth title would be wealth. And artwork illumination. So she does describe what's going on here in the artwork. A cascading woman fulfills the three columns of the tree of life. Okay, so it's got like, oh yeah, this one, oh, because this is the, oh, wow, I did happen to pick like the right card to talk about the Kabbalah, because on in the Thoth deck and also in the Rider-Waite Smith, you have a, you know, the pentacles, or the circles are in the tree of life formation. Okay. Um, so yeah, the three columns of the tree of life. So the 10 Sephiroth are behind her. So the Sephiroth, those 10 circles. Sorry, I have to scratch my nose. The three columns not only represent the tree, but also the Ida, Pingala, and, oh, I'm not saying these things right, and Susumna channels of Kundalini energy. I know I'm not saying those correctly. I don't know what those things are, what they mean. So, take it with a grain of salt there from me. She is radiant in all ways, all directions. Her purpose is being fulfilled by her many phases and stages simultaneously. So I feel like, okay, there's a depiction of the Kabbalah, but then we went off on this other like thing with the Kundalini, which is fine, but it's not Thoth. You know what I'm saying? It's something else in my mind. Or maybe it's just inspired by Thoth. And then it goes, because inspiration and same are very different. Um, okay, and then it gives you a light meaning and a light and shadow meaning and a mantra. Okay. So it's also very different from, from this feels like it's a very this is about like an individual's journey, this deck versus which is fine too, versus like a anything relational necessarily. I don't know. It does really feel very badass and inspiring and empowering. uh, This deck does, but like I also sometimes struggled with the imagery like working for me in tandem with the astrology and the tarot, and even the Kabbalah. But it is still like, look at that Ace of Wands is awesome. Okay. Um, but I'm not sure, right? That like it means I'm not sure that I'm connecting those things. Like, I know that I'm like looking at this image and going, ooh, that's badass. That's beautiful. And it's got lots of really cool things in it. But I'm not sure that like my synapses are firing and creating the connections. Sometimes, yes, like Six of Cups, like I can do it a little bit there. But sometimes no. Like this Two of Wands does work for me. um you got, the ram's horns there too, but this Eight of Pentacles, I don't know, like and I'm not sure that when I read it, sorry, the sun is coming in heavy, if when I read the guidebook, if it really does, I don't know, but I read with this deck a lot, and I did get good readings from it, so I don't know. Like, I think it's gonna stick around. I think I'm going to need it in the future, or want to use it in the future, or maybe I'll have like the exact right person that I would want to like gift it to. Oh, it's got these. Did I show you the backs? These are the backs, and I mean, it's got all this like very desert imagery. I love all the colors. It's and this is a like an older version of it. I think there's been some changes and like extra cards and stuff, that different version, depending on which edition you have, what you'll get. But yeah, I feel like it's I don't know, it's like pushing some boundaries there. It's not I don't know, it's its own kind of like cool thing that like I have to I have to work a little bit with. It's just not like an easy, an easy deck for me. So let me talk about this deck next. The Yanasa Yaos um tarot. This is Edición Siete, seventh edition. And oh, it's signed. Yeah, I got this and I got the Stunning Tarot around the same time. And I like the way that Yanasa Yaos markets things and change the colorations and stuff is was beyond brilliant, because it's very like makes you want to get them before it runs out. And anyway, but like, okay. So let me just say it straight up. This size and shape is like really cool, but it is just not what I want to shuffle. Like, it's just not, it doesn't work in terms of shuffling at all. I can it's just annoying, and I wish that, like, I think it's really cool to have a weird shape like this, but it's just not practical for use. So having said that, I've been working with this deck this month, and I accidentally have been really studying Marseille because I've been working with this deck. Something clicked when I realized this deck, the Yanasa Yaos, in all its different colorations, it's a Marseille Tarot de Marseille deck, okay? Now, I know there's different schools of Marseille. You guys, I'm not an expert. I'm just saying what's my understanding. Those of you that are much more fluent in Tarot de Marseille can correct me. Please do. But from my understanding, Yanasa Yaos models her interpretation of the Tarot de Marseille from Jodorowsky. And it's also my understanding that um, Jodorowsky is a figure that is problematic, problematic for various different reasons that I'm not going to get into. You can, investigate. Is a problematic figure in general, and I think that's very polarizing. But who has written tarot books? This person. So Yanasa Yaos, her guidebook, that's a PDF for this deck, is modeled after or translated from Jodorowsky. And the translation of the guidebook is, like I said, Yanasa Yaos, this English is not her first language. And she even says at the beginning of the guidebook that, forgive her for the translation. So I'm not sure if the way that, Jodorowsky reads Tarot de Marseille or positions the meanings of the cards is the same as, like, say, what I was using to compare. So what ended up happening for me is like this deck took me into like a little bit of a study kind of thing. And so what I did was I started I wanted to compare these cards to Marseille. I'm like, I have to stop looking at this deck as Waitsmith or Thoth. I have to look at this deck as Tarot de Marseille. So suddenly these minors that like weren't making sense are like now making sense. And while they don't like they definitely aren't traditional. Like this is not. So what's that? That's the nine of wands, nine of bastos. This does not look like a traditional Marseille, but I've been using to help me with this is like my Marseille teacher, which is the Squid Cake Tarot de Marseille, um, which I put in order. And so I've been drawing 3 cards from the Yanasa Yaos, and then putting those 3 cards from the Squid Cake Tarot de Marseille underneath it. If I have a picture, I'll show you. I've been I've been taking pictures of my readings this month. So, and then reading from the guidebook of the Squid Cake deck. And sometimes, often it aligns, even though the image, is really different. Even with the court cards, well, that's not the court card, is it? Yeah, no, that's the Empress. But even with the court cards, um, it's you know, it makes sense, like with the way that the person is positioned kind of makes sense. I don't know if you guys know, if you know, you might be understanding me. So for those of you that may have this Yanasa Yaos tarot and are like, I love it, it's beautiful, but I just don't get it. Like I don't get these minors. I don't get how, let me find one. How this, is a is the 4 of cups. I don't get how this is the 4 of wands. Um, I don't get how, this is the 10 of swords. But I think you have to remember that this is a Marseille deck. So I feel like I'm appreciative of where this deck took me. I'm appreciative of it, like putting me on this like little bit of a Marseille journey. And I like it. I like it. So I'm not done with you. I'm not done with you, Yanasa Yaos. This is so fun to talk about because it's a deck that my friend made. and it's a Fool for Tarot. Honestly, I don't think I'm going to say much different about this deck than I already have. Um, because, yeah, I love it. It's created by my friend Rumor Haven, and it is a tribute to the character story arc of Spike from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So, and she sent it to me as a gift. So thank you, Rumor. And honestly, though, this deck kind of, I think, prepared me for this deck because I used it before, and also kind of got me into this pip mood because it's pips, right? Um, I love the majors too. And Rumor wrote poetry to go along with this deck. It's very like tied to like specific scenes, specific things that happen to Spike, um, especially in the majors. And it is such a cool deck. I'm like, I love the black and white and red and pops of red when they come in. Um, but it got me into pips, and like I can't tell you and like how clear this deck is. Oh my God. Like I had some like spookily accurate readings, that like predictive readings, which is not something that I tend to do a lot, but like this deck is like, whoa, okay? I'm just saying. And for someone that's nowhere near as big of a Buffy stan as my friend Rumor is, this deck I just got it. Like it just clicked. Like I just totally got it. And I definitely had the like the numerology forefront in my mind. Um definitely, right? I I just, yeah, oh my God, this is good. But also just, reading Rumors poems, like even if I don't know or remember specifically. I mean, I've seen Buffy, but like I don't remember. There's a lot I don't remember. Um whatchamacallit, I just reading the poem like gave me enough to work on, but also even just the image itself gives me enough to work with. Oh, so good. And anyway, I mean, I've used this. I kept using this. Like it was in 1 month, monthly wrap up and things that I was talking about a lot, but I felt like I was just talking about this deck a lot, but I've kept using it. Like it hasn't really, it's been just with me. It's just been with me a lot. And really straightforward, a real just like straight talker. Like it's just a really like, I don't know. It's very, and it's not like it's like even like channeling like Rumor for me. It's not like Rumor's voice. It's like, I don't know, it's just very, very clear. It's just like boom, like the image is there, the message is there, compared to like some of these other decks that are like giving me this whole runaround and like work that I have to do. So it's just funny. Like, yeah. So Full for Tarot, so glad that I put it on this list because I had at the beginning of the year it had just come in. So that's why I definitely wanted to put it on the list. Um, the last one is the first one, really, because it's really like one of my very first tarot decks. This is really the first tarot deck that I started reading with, actually. Um, and I've talked about it most recently because I just used it last month, right? In March, yeah, because of Moonlit March. So this is the Tarot of the Divine. You guys, like this, here's what I'm saying about like decks that you may have had for a while that have been sitting on your shelf that you haven't used in a while, but you have this like connection to from like the beginning or from a long time ago. That's why like those like big deck purges that people do, like and those of you that have done big deck purges and it works for you, like I'm not here to like, tell you not that you did the wrong thing or whatever. But those of you that are like sitting on the fence or unsure, like just wait a minute, like wait a minute and see, um before you jump and get rid of things. Not that this one was ever like something I was going to get rid of, but I had other things, other things have had that kind of feeling. But anyway, sorry, that's just like my unsolicited advice. Only because I feel like I've been doing this long enough now that I can kind of give unsolicited advice about binging and purging decks, buying and rehoming and that whole, shebang. But that's just like an ongoing conversation that we're always having, right? Okay, enough of that. This is the back. This deck is based on deities, folklore, and fairy tales from around the world. I'm always just reading the little guide, on the cover in the guidebook. So I love this deck so much. I love this artwork so much. Do you want to know, have I told the story where I first saw this deck? So before I got into Tarot Tube, watching tarot stuff on YouTube, the only other thing that I ever watched on YouTube was ASMR videos, and specifically, what's her name? GB ASMR. I don't watch her anymore. But GB ASMR was and I'll link to her video that has this deck in it down below. I was I was like, oh, I wonder if people are doing ASMR tarot videos. So, like whispery, tarot readings. And because it's a very, very like personal, meditative, like can give you those like ASMR tingles and relax you. Because that's what ASMR ideally is for, is to help you relax and like help with anxiety and even help you sleep, which is one of the reasons why I was using it, because I was struggling with sleep and insomnia and stuff. um so I saw this particular deck on GB ASMR's channel, and I fell in love with the artwork. And I had my original tarot deck from when I was like 15 years old that had kind of just come back into my life and sent me on this kind of tarot exploration sort of thing. But I didn't know that I was going to really start reading tarot again and then for my birthday I bought, or Mother's Day, it was definitely in May. Either I got myself, got myself a treat. I got myself this deck. Actually, I think it was maybe Mother's Day because it was before my birthday. And and so it goes, right? And so it goes. And so 200 some decks later, that's like the initiation. And I I remember even in GB's video, her saying that tarot readers that she knew, because she's not a tarot reader at all, tarot readers that she knew told her that maybe this deck wasn't good for a beginner, because it depicts stories, and it's not, the imagery is not the typical traditional tarot imagery. So like I'm one of those people that I think, like, I don't know if it's an unpopular opinion or a not like a not controversial, but or like an opinion that people debate, is to whether or not you need a Rider-Waite Smith or a Thoth not usually though, but or need a traditional Rider-Waite Smith in order to learn tarot. And I think, like, I can't answer that one way or the other. It's yes and no. Because I was learning with this deck before I started really looking at the traditional imagery. But then I needed and wanted to see the traditional imagery so that I could make comparisons. Like this one is more like the traditional imagery. But anyway, like, yes and no, but I think everybody needs to like discover that for themselves. So like I would say, I mean, you start where you start is what I think. Like, and I don't know if like making things easier right away is necessarily, what somebody may need or not. Like, is that a weird thing to say? That like something being more of a challenge to figure out and taking you longer might be what should have happened for you. Maybe that was what you needed to be doing in your learning, journey. Um, or because maybe you needed to like make these connections via like folklore or numerology, and then maybe it needed to be difficult, and maybe you like when it finally clicks, however much longer later, that is why. Like, I have to say that, like, for me, learning the tarot was not it. I don't want to sound like "Ugh," but it wasn't hard. Like, I wasn't a difficult thing for me to do. And I think that's only because I um am trained in like reading literature as like a like in from, my I'm at, I went to school for literature and creative writing, and like analyzing, symbolism is in my, it's part of who I am because I've been doing it for 30 years. So like picking this up and going, or the Rider-Waite-Smith, and like it just was a language that made sense to me, so it was easy for me. And I think in whatever iteration it would have come to me in, that would have been my experience. That's just like what I think, but I've gone off on this whole track and tangent away from this particular deck, but I think I don't know, it's just what feels right in talking about this deck, because that's what my experience was with it. I feel like I'm not like, who am I to say? And I've thought about, I've wanted to do like these, like recommend this deck to beginners and recommend Thoth. I still have like stuff I need to say about Thoth, and I will. But I've like, who am I to say? Because I feel like what ends up happening for you is what ends up happening. And I'm glad, I feel like even if it's frustrating, even if it's challenging, even if it's like, makes you want to like, give up and not learn it. I don't know. I feel like maybe that's supposed to be the way that it works out for you. Is that a horrible thing to say? Like, from somebody who's a teacher who's supposed to like make things like palatable and easier. Um, I just think that it's just cool to me to think of these different like pathways in that people have, and like what their experience was like. I don't think it should be like, that like that hard. I mean, because I even started out saying that, like, does this really like, do I really need to be working this hard for this particular thing? I don't know if I always want that experience, but I think I'm grateful sometimes for that experience. But anyway, the Tarot of the Divine definitely made me do a little bit more work, because I got the other book and read the stories, because I wasn't familiar with all of the particular myths and legends and deity. And I also did like other research outside of that book, because that's just like a really cursory, superficial, like first kind of introduction into them. So, yeah, I mean, it did make me work, and it did make me like connect things in this like very different way, because it wasn't the traditional way. So I kind of like that. I kind of like that it made me do that. So yeah, and so I just love the Tarot of the Divine. Like, this is top tier, one of my favorite babies like forever. Yeah. I can't imagine parting with this ever. So I'm glad that I put it on this list. I'm glad that I made this reconnection with it, because I hadn't used it in a while. And I just love it so. I love it so. Okay. I'm done. I'm done talking about my 25 and 25. Those are the 8 decks that I have uh checked off the list for 25 and 25. so far this first quarter of the year, first quarter and then and a half. First quarter and a half. Okay, that's that. I have rambled at you for long enough. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this, hanging out with me. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sticking with me. I hope that you enjoyed that. And I hope that you all have a beautiful, wonderful day. Bye.